Others are fast-moving.
Unlike other big rallies,
Cockpit earlier at about 7 a.m. A group from the Coast Guard.
Welcome to #PHVote 2013.
Today on Rappler, camp of Janet Napoles says there's only one version of the controversial list, the one they gave Justice Secretary Leila de Lima. The Philippines protests China's construction of a suspected airstrip in the disputed South China Sea. And more than 200 people are killed in an explosion at a coal mine in Turkey. Hello, I'm Chai Hofalenia. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. The camp of alleged pork barrel queen Janet Napoles says there's only one version of the controversial list of government officials implicated in the worst corruption scandal in recent Philippine history. It's the one they gave to Justice Secretary Leila de Lima. This comes after 3 different lists were released to the public. The list of former Senator Ping Lacson that he submitted to the Senate, a list from pork barrel scam whistleblower Ben-Hur Luy, relative and former aide of Napoles, and another list from wetting whistleblower Sandra Cam. The so-called Napoles list is part of an affidavit that she executed when she told De Lima she was willing to tell all she knew about the scam. Napoles counsel Bruce Rivera says some lists published on print media contain names that are not in Napoles' original list.
We only have one list, and that is the list of Secretary de Lima. May mga na-implicate na wala sa listahan eh. Kaya nahihiya kami dun sa mga pangalang lumalabas na hindi naman wala naman talaga dun sa listahan.
Napoles' decision to tell all threatens public officials who allegedly connived with her to steal public money. But critics warn Napoles is muddling the issue. She and other public officials, including Senators Juan Ponce Enrile, Jinggoy Estrada, and Bong Revilla, face plunder complaints over the scam. After hailing the list of whistleblower Ben-Hur Luy as definitive and substantiated, Senator Miriam Santiago now changes her tune. Santiago takes exception to her inclusion in Luy's list of lawmakers who supposedly received money from alleged pork barrel queen Janet Napoles. On Wednesday, the Inquirer reported Santiago received a rebate from Napoles in exchange for an agriculture-related project she agreed to fund. Santiago denies this, saying the documents and details are fake. In a statement, Santiago says, "Someone has made money by using my name, and I will make that person pay big time." The Luy list is nothing but mudslinging. Calling Napoles and her aides a gang of thieves, Santiago says the Luy list is forgery and is no longer admissible in court. Luy's former lawyer, Levito Baligod, says there appears to be one motive for the distribution of different lists by the Napoles camp, for Napoles to plead insanity. Baligod says Lacson's version includes senators who canceled transactions and returned money. He adds it is full of lies, and I will not be surprised if the defense of Mrs. Napoles, assuming she was the one who made that document, is to plead insanity. The Department of National Defense, or DND, on Wednesday confirms China's construction of a suspected airstrip on Mabini Reef, or Johnson Reef, in the West Philippine Sea or South China Sea. DND spokesperson Peter Galvez says there is a, quote, ongoing reclamation or earth-moving activities in that portion. Philippine presidential spokesman Edwin Lacerda says China's construction proves Manila right in filing a case against Beijing with an international court. China has consistently pushed for a bilateral approach in resolving disputes, but the Philippines insists on a multilateral discussion because there are several claimant countries. Lacerda says Mabini Reef is claimed by 3 countries: the Philippines, China, and Vietnam. The Philippines Foreign Affairs Department protests the ongoing construction, but China rejects this, saying the reef is supposedly part of their territory. Construction activities in the disputed territories is a violation of the declaration and the conduct of parties in the South China Sea. This was signed by China and member nations of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations in 2002. The Philippines deports 2 minors arrested with 9 other Chinese fishermen off the coast of Palawan on May 6. In a statement, the Bureau of Immigration says the 2 minors were also put in the Philippine immigration blacklist for poaching and illegal entry. The 9 other Chinese fishermen will face charges for violating the Philippine Wildlife Act and the Philippine Fisheries Code. They will also be blacklisted and banned from entering the Philippines. The Chinese fishing boat intercepted at Hasa-Hasa Shoal or Half Moon Shoal was found with over 500 turtles. China earlier demanded the immediate release of the fishermen, which the Philippines rejected. Senators point out 7 flaws in the new military deal between the Philippines and the United States. During a hearing on the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement Tuesday, Senators Serge Osmeña and Bongbong Marcos cite provisions to show how the deal benefits the U.S. more than the Philippines. First, the deal expands the Visiting Forces Agreement or VFA and Mutual Defense Treaty or MDT. The senators disagree with the Philippine negotiating panel who said the deal merely implements the agreements. Second, Marcos says it's possible the Philippine military will establish new bases and facilities if the U.S. asks for them. Third, the Philippines may have to pay for facilities the U.S. will build. Sections 2 and 5 of the Defense Agreement say agreed locations and defense assets no longer required by the U.S. may be returned with possible compensation. Fourth, citing Section 3, Article 4 of the Defense Agreement, Marcos says the deal won't help the Philippine military's remodernization because U.S. facilities and assets will be for the exclusive use of U.S. troops. Fifth, the Philippine military can't check if U.S. ships carry nuclear weapons. Osmeña says the U.S. military has a policy to neither confirm nor deny the presence of nuclear weapons. Sixth, the U.S. military will be allowed to operate a telecommunications system without congressional approval. Lastly, there is no specific requirement to remove hazardous waste in cases of a spill. The deal requires the U.S. to, quote, contain and address environmental contamination resulting from the spill. But Osmeña says this is not enough, adding containment is different from removal. More than 200 people are killed and hundreds more remain trapped underground after an explosion at a coal mine in western Turkey. Energy Minister Taner Yildiz says 363 workers were pulled out alive in the initial stages of the rescue Tuesday. But Yildiz says fires and risk of toxic carbon monoxide hamper rescue efforts. A total of 787 mine workers were trapped when a faulty electrical transformer triggered an explosion. Fire officials pumped clean air into the mine shaft for the survivors, many of whom are stuck in an area 4 kilometers from the entrance. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 6, search engine giant Google may soon have to comb its entire archive of the internet to delete links upon users' requests. Atop EU court rules, Google must remove links to irrelevant and outdated data upon request. The so-called right to be forgotten case was sparked by a Spanish man who said an auction notice of his repossessed home on Google's search engine infringed on his privacy. Google says the ruling is disappointing, adding it does not control data, but only links to information freely available online. At number 7, the televised apology of embattled Los Angeles Clippers owner Donald Sterling took a turn for the worse when he took a swipe at basketball icon Magic Johnson. Sterling, already banned for life in the National Basketball Association or NBA, apologizes for his bigoted comments against African Americans. But in his interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper, Sterling criticizes Johnson for being a poor role model because he contracted HIV. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver says he's disappointed with Sterling's remarks. He adds, the NBA Board of Governors is continuing with its process to remove Mr. Sterling as expeditiously as possible. And at number 10, Google Glass is now on sale in the United States. TechRadar reports a Google spokesperson confirms the availability of Glass on its retail site ahead of a much wider consumer launch. Supplies of Google Glass are limited and they don't come cheap. It retails for about $1,500 US or a little over 65,000 pesos. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. For social media post of the day, when American football player Michael Sam heard he was being drafted by the St. Louis Rams in the National Football League, he jumped for joy. And then he kissed his boyfriend on television. The video immediately went viral. Sam is the first openly gay athlete drafted by a pro football team. The video now has more than 3 million views since it was posted on May 10. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click on how you feel and your mood, and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page, which crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories with the most clicks. Let's look at tonight's top 10 stories. If you look at our stories on the Mood Navigator, these are really Christmas colors. There's green and red. Right here in the middle is a story on JV Ejercito, not his brother's keeper. It's the biggest circle in the middle, and this is actually a profile of the new senators. So here, this story got 79% happy, 16% annoyed, 3% amused, 1% don't care, and 1% inspired. Another green circle is this is a profile of Bam Aquino. He's actually the youngest senator in the Senate at age 37. This story got 69% happy, 11% inspired, 6% annoyed, 6% angry, 6% sad, and 2% amused. Another green circle is on this profile on Sunny Angara, from textbooks to tax books. He is now the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee in the Senate. This profile gets 79% happy, 13% annoyed, 5% don't care, 3% amused. If we sum up everything, more people tonight are happy. That's Rappler's newscast for today, Wednesday, May 14, 2014. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Chai Hofilenia. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today. We'll leave you with a video of Martina Raya. Super Typhoon Yolanda destroyed her organic farm and house. This is her story by Aya Lo and JP Lopez.
About 7:07, sabi niya, Tina, bumabaha, tumataas yung tubig. So when the water was already here on my neck, and my granddaughter was already on top of my shoulder, I said, Lord, if you are going to get me, I offer my life. When I was able to hear the crying of the members of my family, thank you, Lord, Mommy is here, we are all accounted. That was the time I awakened myself. Buhay pala ako. My sad emotions ako, bakit nasira yung bahay ko. At the back of my mind, there was an emotion of parang challenge sa akin. The mere fact that hindi ako namatay with the tragedy, there was something more that I want to do. We really have to survive, and to survive is to work. But you cannot work first if you will not believe that all these things comes from